said you were kidding.
McFadden, did you speak if like one down?
I said I was affirmative.
I think I was the first one in.
Okay, yeah, no, that's just a double check.
Yeah, right, so I will watch.
I've not seen half.
Are we missing anyone in here?
No, we're all here.
Okay.
We're starting
Okay,
right.
cool.
Am I here?
Awesome.
I love you.
JulianJudging@gmail.com.
Yeah. Thanks. I just don't want it to be in the old Julian Kuffour. It just is clock. Gross. I don't want these.
Jonas, I love this picture.
What?
The one with your email?
Is that the suit?
Yeah.
Dude, please go.
Matt.McFadden.99.
Ethan, you better win, bro. You know how I feel about voting for you, Rex. You see, Tarun only got to quarters at Grapevine.
I know.
Not enough. You got the quarters?
Quarters.
Aw, yeah.
Is that a bit?
Yeah, it's a bit.
Yo, Tarun, halfway there, baby. Yo, he's
Yeah.
coming for you.
I
He's
know.
coming for you.
I'm scared.
Dude, we got him because we got Nebel. As long as Nebel wins,
would be
we're fine.
Tarun is.
It's true. It's not over for Nebel.
It's over for
All right. You debate.
I think
I think
debating. If Ethan reads Nebel, it'll be the end of Nebel.
We're next.
Remember the whole condo facade?
Are you just gonna
Hey, bro, he was that.
I'm not gonna roast him. I'm gonna roast something that would be construed.
Camp, I could get to that so quickly. In 3
Oh,
minutes, I would.
oh wait, shoot.
What?
In 2 minutes, I could get to the whole tower.
Debate is not a social
That's what
activity,
it
it is a
That's not.
sport where we know each other to the death, and that's it.
I could get to that like, I said it.
Sorry, I'm resending the
1 minute.
Did you
admin.
debate yet?
Elasky, Ethan.
Yeah, we're getting real comfortable.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ethan, we're getting real comfortable.
I'm glad I'm here so I don't have to look at the horizon while I'm doing it.
The last one, dude.
And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't as good as I remember.
Yeah, dude, maybe I hurt your child.
That would have been
It's kind of warm.
evil.
Well, it's because they didn't come fresh out of the freezer.
Alright, good tournament. Very happy. See you at practice.
Wait, Ethan, are you
Hold
recording?
on.
Good work.
Ethan, are you recording?
Yeah.
You are? Okay.
You all have to record it.
Let me just make sure that it's like actually recorded.
Too.
Yeah.
Good practice.
Let me know when everybody is ready for the first affirmative constructive
Did you send it?
Yeah, I sent it again.
Okay, I just got it.
The second email is the same one, it's just because I forgot.
That feels like exclusion. Alright, I'm good.
Everyone ready? Jonas?
Yeah.
Standardized testing is a facade that prioritizes the ability to learn. The test which requires tutoring is inaccessible to poor students. Abolitionist Key Colker, 1904, about study planning for students taking data under high pressure, time standards, embellishing program instructions, socioeconomic steps, ECR students there, income and then can score rather than administrative career required to overcome lack of privilege on these income when applicants take optimized day, place themselves competitive disadvantage classes, support schools and applicants for below the median by test optimal chance universities where highly important standardized extensions, towards are part of the ratings in the university are mindful of people test play and helping them maintain a high rank of knowledge for college admission shopping. When either standardized tests are racially and socioeconomically biased, for 14 SAT scores highly correlated with students for nearly 30 more than 200,000 year average time. 14 while students for Finland Center 20,000, average 2016 educated families do better for assuming that compared with the graduate degree for 300 points higher Asian ones get much higher scores than other ethnic groups. Asian top test with 45 Latin Americans with lowest with 1278 obtaining PhD, one third pricing a higher 12 students who don't take PhD at 14. 09 standardized testing is wielded to exclude qualified minorities in favor of rich white sets. Counterfall PhD at all 18 towards the college open wider to white students, vast majority black Canadians and all over crowded out of open access college at taking a even more than actually their test like earlier school and applying source of the lottery racing class quality beyond the side so the auto quantitative measuring 2014 treasury 41,000 black Latinos each scored by powers only 9% extended to college 31% of white students had during the American marriage is another affirmative factor already for the rights like a public college spending nearly 3 times as much for student money bites and much higher graduation rates and access to at least middle school has to become the combination of racial segregation findings for has exacerbated race-based gaps. Standardized tests don't influence graduation rates enough to outweigh the rampant inequality they foster. Counterarguments PhD at all 18. Standardized test scores are revealed that are fairly test scores explain as little as 50% of variation in graduation rates in the course of field averages 79% of graduating students in the top quartile, 85% of black students including non-cognitive entry, reduce the gap in traditional college cohorts. Many more black students even see that like colleges are now getting into elusive industries to estimate the most likely college black and students graduate almost the same rate as white students. Top tier colleges much higher than if they attended open access colleges. Selective colleges are critical for minority graduation. Carvalho, PhD, all 19 black continuous students have lower and median SAT scores for black and even students at disadvantage in the test resulting little about whether they're actually see black continuous students with a score of 1,081% chance of graduating selective college, only 46% attended open access colleges. The impact of cycles of poverty and poor education. Carvalho, PhD, all 18 separate unequal public college systems increase disparities for the careers of blacks and the changing disparities in educational credentials for your parity all white workers, black workers, 76 cents all workers, see huge difference completing a bachelor's degree or their career after they earn the degrees. Plan in the United States, colleges and universities ought not consider the SAT or ACT in undergraduate admissions decisions. Minorities are more likely to be GPA described means applying increases diversity centers PhD matter in 18. There have been remarkable consistency identifying which is most likely to play discrepancy. 70 found the students who have higher GPA likely to be as in test scores to be feel minority and low income, small percent of minority and low income students constitute the high ACT moderate HSCPA grade GPA discrepancies are more likely to have lower socioeconomic status than SAT discrepant. Mismatch is good, their studies are bad, and empirics conclude actually goes 13. Students were most likely to graduate by attending most selective institutions would admit that many students that are matched are less likely to graduate before and after methods not taking comprehension and trends adjustment student character to the top 29 have said have a negative effect on 3 percentage points of method growth variation where students go which results in a study about where to apply your students including those with less than solid academic potential and more likely to graduate from more selective institutions. Students one more likely to attend a lower quality college with a 40% decrease in on-site graduation rates for an absolutely strongly against an internal stable credible study found out that students are by attending more selective college. Eliminating tests is feasible and increases diversity. Hampshire proves latch on AJE 15. We review an applicant's whole academic lived experience essays and interviews recommendation indication entrepreneurs and for overarching error shows motivation distance capacity yourself for like GPA, better performance over a range of courses in time, class diversity increases 31% out from 20% percentage of students who are for generation versus 12% to 80% of last course every other detail became more complete portion we had seen before. The app solves anxiety caused by test Carlo PhD 19. Many feel cognitive sensibly these exams should matter more than time evaluation of problems and provide an accurate view of knowledge, real knowledge and potential anxiety literature underlying problem-solving factors affect the exam certain are what we want to measure. Current centers are missing knowledge for application cognitive science technology and rich learning uses that help with combination of cognitive science technology help us learn more effectively cognitive science empirically mapping out motivation techniques for long-lasting referenceable setting and common approach to report time from the ACT and SAT matter offers learning tools and they can do your prediction of the real test will need to effectively track long-term knowledge understanding that they will only increase in challenge test will matter less. Eliminating standardized test deals with significant blow to educational inequality standard no PhD 18 based on compelling historical, statistical, theoretical, and educational research as the SAT combines institutional discrimination best interest full present morally lazy over the status quo say excellent national movement eliminating standardized test for admission strike against prevailing inequality justice using alternative reform would be more first by limiting the greatest barrier access to affordability second by fostering learning by which diversity and intelligence and life experiences respective not solve all our problems would be significant leap in the right direction to inspire different forms of social change expansion for opportunity diversity reduction of primary line time sensitive scope scholarly judgment. The plan results in more rigorous applications that boost the effectiveness of admissions decisions McFadden PhD 18. A reputable model when college takes time to distinguish itself and makes it easier for students to identify fit the transmitted homogenized as to become harder to read through them pretty field load application flow and overall readers line things like standardized test scores that answer to efficiency is not just intentionality school can identify we need quality students to have some craft to identify those who may say decrease maps but yield increase. Prefer evidence specific to elimination as opposed to test optional. The common PhD 18 gap that exists between much research has been on test optional following study goal bridging gap type testing. Hampshire the only institution. The debate should center on remedying inequality of opportunity and resources. Any other ethic is complicit in generations of racialized policies that guarantee exclusion under the guise of false neutrality. Hernandez 18 overall research shows performance of better predicting demographic characteristics and education disproportionately excludes racial minorities, women, low-income persons for elective college education. You know what I mean? Exceeds racism and classism. One common tool cannot equitably measure the potential people who have been afforded a chance to life. Resource must be directed. Defining better ways to require offsetting prior inequality of opportunity. I believe in the person lives those who've been benefiting labor and the precision on their own success. A combination of effort, opportunity, resource, and display faith, makes simplicity, exclusion, collection, criteria, matter of historical action that define merit purposely to include at generation under funded school that give other determinations have any critical measure that corrects inequality disservice and robs future generations of their potential. Neg evidence misses the boat. A slight decrease in GPA predictability doesn't outweigh the systemic exclusion of low-income and minority students require 18 summarized debate. It's that trade-offs in line with institutional mission values requiring tests of smart policy or institutional priorities maximizing GPA. Your institution sacrifice a small amount of GPA performance to greater diversity and socioeconomic access. Race is the strongest predictor of SAT scores, large-scale regression analysis. Guys, 15 most important genes for the growing salience of race by 2011 predicted way for URM status was greater than for other family parental education. Race is the strongest predictor of SAT scores for the last 4 years. Racial group difference SAT scores not simply reasonable differences in family income and education. One error theory is dropped in debater. The one error doesn't have time to adequately cover substance in theory, which means they Westlake conjects are also uniquely keen LTVs being able to use 2 A's to be able to develop offense, which means that how investment on theory affects their ability to answer every other sheet, which means the only punishment is rejecting the team. Also send that card.
Six. Cool. So how much net diversity does the app like increase at universities?
obviously there's no like one set number that occurs at every single university across the US because obviously each university is different. Our evidence gives the example of Hampshire College, which witnessed a 10% increase in diversity. All of our evidence indicates that there would be a significant increase in diversity.
The Carnival evidence right below, or yeah, the Carnival evidence about minorities being GPA, or about graduation rates, where is this from?
Like what's the study from?
Yeah,
So he
like who are they citing?
oh no, it was his study.
Gotcha.
I believe it was his study.
Yeah. The Goldfarb evidence, this is from 2014. Why does it reflect the new SAT?
It's also, I think it's also about the ACT, but it still indicates that the sort of correlation stays the same and nothing really changed with the new SAT as per all of our other evidence.
Okay. The evidence about neg evidence, like missing the boat, is this just like a weighing argument that your app makes, or?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess like where does the Harlow evidence say like the word anxiety?
It's in the context of sort of the way in which they're second sentence, anxiety illustrates the underlying problem. So many factors except exam scores and our belief.
I mean, it says the word anxiety like
cramming,
once.
anxiety, physical health, and luck.
Okay. This ep is mostly about like cognitive science and technology, about the ACT and the SAT. Why does this apply to the app?
So it's showing that sort of based on new information from cognitive science, SAT and ACT aren't sort of good predictors and don't measure the skills that are sort of valuable.
So where does this card warrant anxiety besides just saying like, look, the SAT like causes this a bit? And why is it unique for
I think that is the warrant for, like, what do you ask? Like, it
I'm
says
just wondering
that
like why
standardized,
is it
it's ACT and SAT cause anxiety because they're moment in time evaluations that don't reflect actual learning but are a variety of factors such as cramming, anxiety, physical health, and luck that affect basically a huge part of your future, which is why it's causes anxiety.
Cool. The Hampshire College evidence, why is it applicable to apply one college's data to like, that's like specifically a small liberal arts college to like broader research universities?
The McFadden evidence explains how it's a replicable model because sort of what would happen post the affirmative is that colleges would change their applications to be more rigorous. They would try to distinguish themselves to sort of identify which students fit.
Well, this
best with
evidence
their
just says that like,
institution.
that's how they did it, but it doesn't actually say that.
No, it's saying it's a replicable model that other colleges would do that as a result, and since this is the only institution that has gone without standardized testing, it seems reasonable to say that how is what other colleges would do.
Okay, I'll send that to them and see.
Do you want this to?
I set mine up. Let me just like download the. I don't know where this is. Did you send the card about like race that you read at the end?
Yes.
Where is it?
Just at the bottom of the top.
Okay. I'll like read it, but I didn't get like a new version.
Are you sure?
Let me check.
It's at 3 minutes.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
How many sheets?
It is 2 sheets.
Nagel and Gumbo.
Needle and what? Is it actually a Gambit?
No. That would be funny though.
It's 2 Ks, right?
Yeah.
I love me some Jonas knows.
What?
He said I love me some Gambit.
Alright, let me know when, like, is anyone not good? Cool.
interpretation, the affirmative must defend that colleges and universities in the United States ought to consider no standardized test for undergraduate admission. Standardized test is existential legal. 19. Consider USC ought to consider standardized tests and admissions. Suppose that USC ought to consider the SAT but no other standardized test. This would entail USC ought to consider standardized tests and admissions. Standardized tests is an existential goal, negating an existential universal evil. 19. Unicycles don't have wheels. Would have to argue that unicycles don't have any wheels. Not just there are some wheels. Unicycles don't have because the negation of an existential statement is a universal statement. If standardized test is existential, resolution means that colleges and universities ought to consider no standardized tests. Standardized tests include SAT, ACT, PSAT, AP, and IB Kaplan. Kaplan, the exams AP, there's 37 different standardized tests, single subject AP test, IB diplomas, PSAT, NMS, QT, SAT subject test, standardized proficiency test, help colleges evaluate your subject knowledge, ACT, SAT, or ACT scores interchangeably. Violation is that they spec just the SAT and the ACT vote -1 for limits and ground. They can spec any of 26 composite tests, including SAT, ACT, TOEFL, APs, and subject tests of right negative prep. Since there's marginal differences in the advantage, but it takes out ground like AP college credits or TOEFL English skills, which are some of the few generics. When aspect colleges you should use competing inserts. It's not possible for the affirmative to be reasonably topical. They're either topical or they're not, and it's best for setting norms which leads to more substantive education in the long run. Next up is the counterpoint sex. High schools in the United States ought to adopt the universal requirement that every high school student take a standardized college admission test free of charge during school hours, administer universal mandatory practice exams in preparation for such tests, and implement measures for colleges to consider such tests in all undergraduate admissions decisions. It solves inequality. Why? And all 19 SAT, ACT for all universal requirement that every high school student take a standardized college admissions test free of charge during school hours, and a mandatory practice to help mitigate differences in preparation for familiarity. So studies found that taking practice tests increases scores on final tests even in the absence of other preparation activities. If universal testing identifying high-voted candidates from disadvantaged backgrounds, they can be advised on how to take advantage of financial aid programs to apply to attend better college schools than they would otherwise, and it solves better in peer standards. 19 it doesn't CT, ACT, or SAT is not given to school for free on a school day during school hours. Sitting for the test as required. Students cannot adopt because of low expectations. As a result of the shift in policy this year, Michigan's high school students taking the college entrance exam rose from 54% to nearly 99%. As a result of this policy, more low-income students went to and graduated from four-year colleges. The story in Michigan is echoed in Maine, Illinois, and Colorado. If taking these tests is voluntary, many talented disadvantaged students will go undetected. The case page, there's no impact to how questions are structured. Kids are more concerned with solving problems than caring about wording, and nobody remembers them a day after. They're also not unique because school courses are already culturally biased, which means that this doesn't really have an impact. For example, creationism is tested in Texas or U.S. history classes. A lot of times in the United States say that Malcolm X was bad and created a dichotomy between him and Martin Luther King, and stats go negative. Overall consensus is that tests have a negligible impact on diversity. Council PhD and SACID PhD in 19 recent research demonstrates that tests optimal schools have been enrolling increase in diversity bodies, but the same is true of schools require testing. We examine a sample of 100 psychology with a total of 143,000 students. The social cost of enrolled students, nearly the applicable test scores should have an important role. Differences in skill investment and development over the course of many years cannot be overcome quickly, and colleges have perverse incentives to create and worsen inequality. That's a huge all-cause melter. 18 colleges have bottom line and consider all the wealthiest are needed marketing and outright advantage of full patient in schools need to take their steps to protect the old one ways. Road decision applicants must be set academically, which requires strong advising. Something less privileged applicants are less likely to have privileged applicants attend schools that have a history sending schools to sending schools to college where guidance counselors actively lobby for admissions circulation between college admissions and school counseling is the most scandalous aspect of the admissions process. Colleges barely manage applications already what would they do with the 30,000 more officers are only human. They would take shortcuts, make snap judgments, and biases would inevitably creep in sports and legacy admissions are and all cause scapegoating, standardized test fails, and backfires. Meltzer in 18 there are sports such as fencing and criminal even as highly correlated with income admissions commissions. Admissions committees aren't worrying that some students athletic achievements might be coaching that other students can't afford. What about legacy admissions? Those will stick around too. Systemic dissent permeate every aspect of admissions. Standardized tests are one piece of a much larger picture. An easy scapegoat is boring. Their approach is infinitely aggressive and fails to focus on transcripts is worse for food students who are tutored across the board. Meltzer in 18 since grades correlate with income doesn't follow grades should be abolished and private schools be abolished. Underneath we find a breakdown towards by income levels. Stats focus on passing students over 3 sports and 5 to get lumped together. Private schools devise their own grading system to impede comparisons to public grade. High price tutoring is not limited to standardized tests. Private school students have high price academic tutoring. Does anyone seriously think transcripts wouldn't benefit from $250 an hour college grades on test scores can be affected by subjective measures? Extra credit parental willingness to lobby for test retakes. Income bracket are disproportionately represented in applicant pools. Grades are far worse. Applewood, PhD, and 18 increased reliance on grades. Considering student colleges and high school grades have been rising, but all bits have not risen equally. The unequal distribution of grade and which benefit white Asian wealthy. This the rate of GPA increases in private schools was 3 times as large. And GPA focused hurts diversity. Calculate PhD in 13. The combination significantly increases accuracy of prediction. Research suggested it would increase admissions for white students and decrease their black students. Using only HS GPA would substitute a professionally developed test where the teacher says the achievement gap is not restricted to standardized test, but is evident in all measures. The test scores are not the main reason for the limited enrollment of minorities, and it's subject to variation. Consult PhD and second PhD in 18 within each income category. Tremendous amount of variation. Parental income is not designated the smallest amount. Less more variability within SES income level, and it's 94% of the variability in the total sample. The SAT measured nothing but SES variability within each income band would be dramatically smaller than variability of the total sample. Gold farm that they read is too old. It's about the old SAT, which isn't reflective of the new one. It also doesn't talk about the ACT, which is what they said in CX. The Carnival evidence, it's wrong about the GPA. This is the study that Carnival cites, and it's horrible. It actually cites another study from 1985 whose R value is only 0.15. That means that R squared is less than 6% correlated with their trend, which means that their study has no statistical power because it is so old. Burton and Ramsden and one finding is a relatively low average correlation. R equals 0.15 of admissions predictors with graduation, and the affirmative exacerbates college selectivity. Rosinger and 18 before and after comparison of applications found no change in long-term underrepresented student enrollment after test optional policies led to an increase in the number of applicants overall that forced the college to become more selective, more applications and more rejections. That appearance of selectivity enables the college to win a higher spot in rankings. The Geiser evidence is about the Geiser evidence that they read at the bottom is about UC Berkeley and the different UC schools, which are actually different than the rest of the state because California has passed Proposition 209, which is uniquely different because it means that because the law says that California cannot consider race in admissions, which means that California is uniquely bad. And the anxiety stuff is not about anxiety. It's not about anxiety. It's something that, or it's not something that's intrinsic to the SAT because things like GPA are just as bad. They force students. The GPA relies on things like tests, which force students to take moment in time evaluations in school, which means that they aren't any better. And structural barriers make the inevitable trend. In 16 critics argue the test prep programs are not able to lower programs. That correlation is not strong as portrayed to be estimates. Scores suggested correlation between 0.2 and 0.3 and a scale from -1 to 1. SAT scores with IQ and aptitude. Testing is not responsible for the disadvantage economic inequality as any system of value students is not favored the law because the applicant command more resources than needy.
Much required than needed.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Status of the counterplan?
Conditional.
Can you kick planks?
No.
Okay. What recent research does the Consul and Sackett evidence refer to?
I like to. It's talking about a 2012 study where.
No, that's something
authors-
else. It's saying
Yeah.
recent research demonstrates testing optional schools and enrolling increasingly diverse student bodies for the same as true schools that require testing similarly in a 2012 study. What's the original study?
I think the recent research, it's not like citing any one thing, it's just like saying this is like a claim that it's making, and then saying like a similarly claim that proves its claim.
The test, or the SAT for all counterplan?
Yeah.
What's the study that says that retaking tests improve scores?
There's a study done in 2015 by this one guy from MIT, I don't remember what his name is.
Where does it say that in the card?
Like
is that
that's like the only study that's been done.
So it's saying, so the study, when it says studies find that taking practice has increased scores, that's what the study it's referencing?
It's referencing that study, and then there's like some other marginal studies.
Do you have those studies?
I do.
You don't?
Yeah.
I
mean, they're like in the author, and you can like cut indices to them if you want.
The Indite of Carnivale,
Yeah.
Where does it say that this is what Carnivale used?
So Carnivale cites this, and then we cut the article that Carnivale is citing, and the article that Carnivale.
Which claim is the art, or like which claim in Carnivale? Because Carnivale makes a few arguments.
Yeah. Carnivale is about it's about how. Hold on, let me find it.
Like which
Yeah.
argument in Carnivale?
No, I know. The argument is about it's the argument about graduation rates.
So what argument?
It's that our argument is that your claim that standardized tests don't influence graduation rates is bunk, because your study is from referencing another study.
Okay, so what study do you have that says standardized tests do influence graduation rates?
That's all of our arguments on the case.
Which study?
I guess like. Actually, we didn't read evidence on that.
Cool. What percentage of cases are sports and legacy admissions?
I think the card just says that it's about 10%, but I can't remember the exact number.
Okay, the agent of the counterplan is all high schools in the United States?
No, the agent, sorry, this should be worded as the USFG, but I guess it's high schools.
So the counterplan text is high schools?
Yeah.
Cool. And you didn't make any reason semantics come first, right?
No.
4 minutes.
Cool.
Is there a solvency advocate for the third plank of the counterplan?
No. Sewer.
T case counterplan.
Doc was a couple seconds ago.
What's the order?
T case counterplan. Actually start on a new sheet. It's probably not a new one. Let me know when everyone's ready. Come on.
Do you think they're gonna use me for the quarters?
Probably. You're a very highly preferred judge. Alright, everyone good?
Did you bypass your obligation? Or you mean sell past your obligation? I mean, you're not obligated,
Oh, not obligated?
Right, was the West Peninsula kid dropped in?
No,
Octas.
well, Peninsula just
Octas.
dropped.
Oh, this is like two, I
The
forgot.
butcher, yeah.
Right, it's
Okay,
like two.
everyone good?
Then yeah, you'll be.
Everyone good?
I know K-team stuff, right?
You're judging on this. Okay. Interpretation debaters can't read evidence written by debate coaches for debate. To clarify, you can read Jake's published fill articles, but not his articles on theory and T standards, normally incentivizing coaches to write evidence to help their students or support their ideological leanings, because it's hard as extra authority that it wouldn't get as an analytic error after semantics literature is so dense that it's totally possible Jake is just making stuff up to support his anti-flying agenda. We solve their offense, they really want a semantic violation. They can use the sources Jake cites against you to reject the team from the app underview. Counter odd implies specification period on 11. You gotta give for your pets, not a way of giving food to pets, something you're going to do. You gotta get them not poisonous food, ought to be true, even though it was weight. They didn't say semantics first, so they can't do it in the tuner if they do. We get new answers. allows you to go in depth on particular parts of the literature, which allows for more nuanced debates. Each test is different. After no advantage applies to all test picks, and SATs very different. APs are total picks are worse in aspects, and SNEGs have generics like test optimal case, but apps don't have any verse picks or functional limits. There's inherency, undergrad, and advanced areas. Small absolutes to risk of politics, or large case. There's a reason everyone's reading the SAT and ACT. You have reasonability is good enough and key to avoid substance crowd of the case. Standardized tests are biased and prevent minorities from accessing higher education. The impacts of cycles of inequality and earning disparities. So line by line, we're not going for like the questions are biased stuff. They have no research for their consul evidence. It just cites it, but there's a reason you should err out because their evidence is from people from the college testing industry, which means they'll just create claims like recent research, but not cite any research, which means you should err heavily. The app also increases the diversity of the applicant pool, which answers but weren't in the second study that they cite. The Melter evidence, the College Board grade inflation study is flawed. That's what all their, the sports stuff. For sports and legacy are fringe cases. Tiny percentage of students are rich enough to be buddy-buddy with admissions officers, so the absolute increase diversity on the whole. The rest of the stuff about grade inflation, College Board grade inflation studies flawed. That's Review 17 federal data sets are not large to need to not take the SAT and left for a study of regional nation connected to well rates. You get a report that cannot describe all of America. These are the last conflict grade 2. The very parents report aspirationally grade down plus or weighted grade 2 of false inflation effect. There's no impact to grade inflation. Admissions officers consider GPA in the context of your school, which means they'd be able to adjust for grade inflation. Conceded the app causes a shift to more rigorous applications. That's McFadden that makes the admissions process more effective. Each school would redesign their application to be more in line with their institutional goals, which means there would be less people applying, which means they'd may be able to make more effective admission decisions and wouldn't necessarily rely as much on things like GPA. They also conceded empirical solvency from Hampshire College would cause a 10% increase in diversity, which means even if GPA is bad, it's not as bad as the SAT. It's also conceded that minority students are GPA discrepant, which means that they have higher GPA scores proportional to their SAT scores, which means comparatively the app still solves more than they do. There's no impact to carnivore being wrong or counter evidence, and a flawed study is better than no study. Cell activities in the context of test optional colleges, but they conceded it doesn't apply. These test line is a distinct policy. The last you should reject their evidence is biased because it's from the testing industry. You make a profit from continued use of standardized tests means they exaggerate the flaws of other metrics. ARAF, if you're unsure if alternatives are worse, you know that SAT and ACT are bad, which means it's worth trying other alternatives. They also conceded the app solves their all causes because it causes an institutional culture shift within universities that causes them to care more about diversity and other forms of social change, which is the Danino evidence, the counterpoint. Conditionality is a voting issue. First is strategy splits one error but forcing me to argue against multiple worlds with different unique conditions, which includes taking advantage of strategic interactions and contradicting second clashing setups between argument beliefs, sharp vaccine, winning one error, responsive the opportunity, go in depth on the nuances of the position, always multi round, 3 round, and outside debates, all their education impacts, but clashing occurs in round. Fielding and alternative agents of voting issue illogical. These colleges can't consider infinite potential actions of other actors in their decision making, destroys boundaries. There's no comparative literature to random agents. Counterpoint flaw. High schools can't force colleges to consider standardized tests, reject the entire counterpoint. These planks affect the entire one error argument choice. It doesn't solve the case. A point is tutoring gaps. Rich students spend all their time prepping with the most expensive tutors, which gives them a leg up. Error after evidence says more minorities went to college in general, not selective colleges, which is our internal link. That's Carnivale. The counterpoint fails. Under-resourced schools and loan communities can't afford to pay for thousands and thousands of standardized tests, which means the counterpoint only benefits rich schools. Their evidence is in the context of state mandated, which is not what the counterpoint fields. High schools don't have the budget to be able to pay for. The counterpoint is the status quo. 24 states already do the counterpoint. I inserted the graph below, proves it doesn't solve compelling Bill PhD 18, and planks without solvency advocates are a voting issue. The third plank is the violation laws, and if you add the best solvency acts with fringe proposals that aren't critical part of the top literature makes app research impossible. Continue to reject the team from the 1 standard. Counterpoint causes competition between SAT and ACT means they don't solve Hendricks. 17, the free SAT takes place 3% naturally. ACT is ludicrous. Think all students suddenly switch over call the SAT for the blue tutor exchange content pairs of finding source off transcripts. Mark it out transcripts.
to say. Or case counterpoint to say.
Starting on the case.
Yeah.
Case counterpoint T.
Yeah, my bad. Case counterpoint T. Let me know when you're all good.
Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, case counterpoint T. Imagine you're an admissions officer who has to sort through 100,000 applications and you have to filter out 75% of them. There's no way to compare one of them to the rest of the 99,999 without some metric to roughly sort through them. Whether that's with the SAT or whether it's with the GPA, that means that it isn't about just SAT, good, bad, and the abstract, or the SAT versus the alternatives. We all know that the SAT and the ACT are imperfect, but they are standardized tests first. They're administered relatively uniformly across the country, which allows them to be compared with relative accuracy to each other between schools and between school districts by the admissions office. Second, is that they're much more secure. Testers are monitored by the facility, so they can't cheat. People get disqualified if they do end up cheating. And it's administered at the same time to provide early access to answers. Third is that they do test some sort of academic achievement. Different people are better at different things like reading, writing, and math. They'll say that the SAT doesn't really measure cognitive ability, but our argument is that the argument is that even if they're not solely measuring cognitive ability, and even if they do measure some things like stress, your physical nature of your body, how tired you are, etc., is that none of these things are unique to the SAT, but rather they play the GPA too. Alternatives like the GPA are far worse. First is profit. Private schools have an incentive to inflate their students' GPAs as much as possible. Inflate their student GPAs as much as possible because that's how they market their schools to their parents. They say, "Oh, we got previous kids in the selective colleges, so we'll be able to do it to your kids. We'll be able to do it to your kids as well." They do not have public funding, which means that they're solely reliant on market dynamics in order to get parents' money. Second is additionally private schools have an incentive to try to inflate GPAs much more because in order to keep parents happy, parents want to see that their kids are succeeding, which means that they have an incentive to inflate GPAs so that parents aren't as worried is that they keep paying money, which is not the same thing, which is not true to public schools because public schools have no such incentive to do that. They get their money from this. They get their money from the state, and which proves that parents don't really have any decision making in that. Second is inflation. The SAT makes the effects of grade inflation far worse. Without a norm reference, uniformly administered tests like the SAT, admissions officers have no way to compare GPAs between schools because there's no corresponding standardized test to check if the increases are due to students' increases in intelligence or them just getting better at English or math or due to grade inflation, which means that they disproportionately hurt minority students. They say there's no research for Kunsel, but we're not going for the Kunsel evidence. They say the Meltzer evidence about how sports are extremely fringe, but sports are a pretty big all cause, and without SAT scores that are viewed as sort of objective by admissions officers, colleges can just let in a lot of athletes who compete in activities like crew or polo, which are disproportionately from private schools and have an incentive to inflate their students' grades. That's why there are easier classes just for these athletes, and without standardized tests, there's no way to determine whether these kids are actually getting the grades that their transcript says that they are, or that they're actually intelligent that their transcript says that they are. They say grade inflation, but one point is that this is just about the Hurwitz and Lee study, which we didn't cite, which means that which proves that there's no link. They say that there's no impact to grade inflation, but our argument is that there's no way to counter that there's no way to control for grade inflation without the SAT, which proves there's no way for colleges to control for grade inflation without the SAT. They can't just tell whether it's too logistically complicated for colleges to determine how schools' GPAs have been trending in the past because it's not possible for them to do a regression analysis of each individual student that goes to each go to that school. The app causing a shift, you should be very skeptical of what this is. The card that they read just says that it might cause a shift in admissions offices, but it never says what this actually is. You should presume that it just changes the culture by getting rid of the SAT and go into resulting in the GPA, which proves that there isn't any type of good shift. The Hampshire College evidence isn't a good indicator of what this actually is. It's one college that's very local, and it doesn't apply to rigor research universities. The minimum students having GPA discrepancy is not something that's answered, but it's actually something that's made worse which is above the flawed evidence doesn't outweigh flawed studies don't outweigh because they're just because if the p-value is terrible, then you should probably prefer analytics to some degree because the study has no predictive value. They're rejecting the evidence because it's from the testing industry. One point is that Erica Meltzer, who is our author for the GPA stuff, is actually far better than theirs because she's been helping rich kids get prep for the SAT for the SAT and helping them with college admissions for the past 20 years. She's uniquely bound to identify which problems and which advantages private schools face, and the alternative doesn't cause an instant shift, which is above conditionality. First is conditionality is good. A point is logic proving the counterpoint is bad doesn't prove the plan is superior to the status quo. Decision maker always has the right to do nothing. There are two great knowledgeable model of opportunity cost. It always on scope since logical decision making is used in every action that you take, but advocacy skills and policy education are only instrumentally valuable. B point is ideological flexibility. Boxing is necessary to test them from the left and the right. That's to breed competent advocates. Of course, they have to take a middle ground response to both ends of ideological spectrum, which prevents extreme ideological dogmatism. C point is negative flexibility. There are a bunch of different tests, all which have their own unique SAT scores, with no unifying negative ground. We need options to compensate for reactionary and concessionary crowd. Always on severity, since there's no 3 in our D point is strategic variety, variety. Lets the negative explore all possible accuracies rather than just the same generic one. You should also just use reasonability. Offense, defense leads to a race of the quantitative debaters can always suggest marginal advantage in the absence of actual abuse. It outweighs because competing interests means that we never get substantive education, since there's always a better theory interest that we could have. Now, the medieval theory argument. One point is that we can read counter-interpretation. We can read authors that make arguments if they cite other studies and if they make logical arguments. Semantics isn't some hocus bullshit, and even if it is, it's something that you should be going into research with. Without the medieval card, nobody would have any incentive to learn about the semantics of the resolution, which is something that is good education because it determines what the resolution is. The reasonability is something that is good, which was above. Now the counterpoint of the alternative agent, you should just it just doesn't prove an opportunity cost, but we're not going for it, and the planks are not a reason to reject the data. They're just prove no solvency. That's it.
Okay, 156. What's the study that says, or which card says grade inflation incites statistics in the 1 and C?
Let me find it. The Appleruth evidence talks about how the rate of GPA increase in private schools between 1998 and 2016 was 3 times as large.
Appleruth?
Yeah, Appleruth, PhD in 18. It's like
Hurwitz and Lee found that the rate of GPA. Awesome. What are the arguments for reasonability?
It leads to a race to the bottom, where you can always suggest a marginal advantage.
Was that the only argument?
Yeah.
Alright, the counterplan, then the case. Everyone ready? Okay. You cannot expect to get a bid at a quarters bid when you get to a theory argument with literally 3 seconds left with a timer and say the words doesn't prove and have not made a complete argument. Reasonability does not get out of any of this because we had a well-developed theory argument in the 1IR that explains why it's abusive. fielding an alternative agent is a voting issue. It's illogical. Colleges can't consider every other potential actor that can act, which is proven by the fact that they don't have a solvency yet for high school specifically taking the action in the counterclaim. There's zero comparative literature in the context of colleges taking a specific action versus high schools, because nobody in the literature assumes all high schools throughout the United States taking a specific action when they're considering whether or not colleges should take a specific action, which destroys ground and proves there's no comparative literature. This proves that they're unreasonable. They have no defense to this, and their only argument basically, I think, just boiled down to reject the argument on the team, which doesn't matter because they conceded to reject the team out of the 1AC interview, which was extended in the 1 error. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. The reasonability warrants proper. First is they said competing interpretations in the 1AC on T, which was conceded in the 1 error, which means they sort of filter out their reasonability. Argument second, reasonability is arbitrary and vices are raised upon them. There's no breadline for determining what's reasonable, especially in this context when they have literally zero defense to our theory interpretation, which means in this specific instance, reasonability just means you judges just being like, oh, I don't think this is particularly abusive, because they have no defense to our specific theory argument in this debate. Also, we linked in Southern Education, raised to the top is good because it says better in order for future debates, which causes better substance long term. Look, even if you think this theory argument is kind of silly, they did not make any defense to it, which means reasonability is you being like gut checking, which is different from reasonability as in they've won substantial defense, because they just do not have defense and did not make a coherent argument in the 2 the case. Problem is their only impact is grade inflation, but they just didn't answer our card that says that their study is flawed. Their only answer is Horwitz and Lee. Guess what? In CX they said Alberuth, that evidence is specifically citing Horwitz and Lee. Our evidence is that study is trash because it relies on self-reporting, which means only the people who report are people who have good grades, which means the people who had bad grades aren't going to report their study because they don't want to tell colleges that they have terrible grades, which is why it's biased. The point is that parents are often the people reporting it, and they're going to aspirationally report their grades. They're going to be like, oh, did he have an A or B? Oh, I think Timmy had an A in that class, and they want to make their child look better, and they're going to assume that their child is doing better when they actually do. Both of these are conceded evidence out of the 1 error, which takes out their only study. Even if you don't think this is terminal defense to grade inflation, it still means that grade inflation happens at a much smaller rate than they have claimed that it does, which means that all of our evidence about discrepancy and empirics going affirmative is sufficient to vote affirmative, because they can't just win grade inflation is bad. They need to weigh it's comparatively worse than the SAT, and this is significant link defense to all of their arguments. Empirics outweigh. We have the only evidence from a test blind institution, which should frame your evaluation, because our conceded McFadden evidence says that's distinct from the test optional policies that their evidence is in the context that they have no warrant for why it's not a good indicator. It significantly increased diversity, which proves all of our broader culture shift and increase in diversity arguments. Grade discrepancy also goes affirmative, even if they make it slightly worse. That doesn't disprove the fact that minorities have much better grades than test scores, which means test scores still are comparatively worse than grades, and answers are their arguments. They have no warrants for private colleges increasing coast the app. This is just analytics that have zero warrant, and we're not in the 1 and C, which means they're new in the 2 and even if grade inflation increases a little bit, it doesn't outweigh because their study is gone.
gamble going for the panel and not the round. And yeah, after just dropped this like dumb KFT argument, and that was 2AR, and I was like, my threshold for finding this is like incredibly low, but it just wasn't there. Harmon was like, my threshold was incredibly high for going for this argument. So like me and Sean Fahey sat
This is dangerous. This is boring.
Oh, bro, that was the other argument that I thought of during your like 1AR. Like that the bros and brought up. It's like it's cross apply like your app options like people working for the SAT.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you only had one point.
No, I voted. I thought I was making $40. I realized I wasn't. I word in.
See, that's a danger of putting you in for more.
I should have put you in for
And
more.
me for more out of PvP.
I should have done the opposite.
You're out 10.
No, we're paying $100.
Huh?
There's a.
Well, you're cutting my pen.
That's I promised that you would be paid $150.
God, dude, you
So
just
Scoggin will cover
roll.
as much of it
Bro, I've
as.
been driving your ass to this fucking tournament, dude.
Oh, we'll give you gas money.
Gas is like not cheap, bro. Like,
I'll pay gas.
you were an
Chris, thanks for volunteering.